Teal dear, we are continuing our march towards racial apartheid in the West, and all in the name of progress. Because nothing says peaceful, progressive, loving society quite like segregating people based on the colour of their skin. Now you may be sitting there thinking that I'm exaggerating a little bit. Oh no, this is not hyperbole. You may recall all of the recent bullshit happening at Missouri University, where groups of black students used a bunch of anecdotal or outright fictitious evidence in order to oust their white system president from his job, and then demanded that the university start hiring people specifically for the colour of their skin over any actual qualification that they might have, and start throwing money in their general direction in order for them to help push this particular plan forward, otherwise de racist. So, in an attempt to distance itself from the extremists and racists within their ranks, some Black Lives Matter campaigners held a protest at Berkeley University, marched themselves straight into a library and started chanting, "Fuck you, you filthy white fucks, fuck you and your comfort, fuck you, you racist shit," clearly demonstrating that at no point in their college university has anyone introduced them to the concept of irony. About 150 Dartmouth protesters shouted as they marched through the Bakerberry Library at Dartmouth College. Students who didn't join in their protest were harassed, with one woman being pinned to the wall by protesters who shouted "filthy white bitch" in her face. Students who were seated were told to "stand the fuck up, you filthy racist white piece of shit." The black-clad protesters also harassed students who wore gangster hats and Beats headphones, calling them symbols of oppression. Those would be Beats headphones by Dre, as in Dr. Dre, the rapper, the founder and CEO of Aftermath Entertainment and Beats Electronics. The Beats Electronics, which is valued at just over $1 billion, although more likely closer to $2 billion. In fact, by the time this video has been released, probably over $2 billion. Owned by a black man, I would like to point out, whose personal fortune stands at around $550 million. Truly a symbol of oppression. Also, gangster hats? I wasn't aware that someone's choice of headwear that they made was a sign that they were being oppressed. You know, on account of it being a personal choice. An anonymous student who was present at the library said, "I was sitting in Novak studying when a large group of protesters came in chanting Black Lives Matter. They gathered in the center of Novak, amongst the tables where there were a number of people working peacefully. They kept shouting and started banging on tables. They demanded that people stand up to show their solidarity. Those who did not stand were targeted and questioned. There was a girl studying in one of the study rooms in Novak, and the protesters stormed the room. She closed the door on one of the protesters, which resulted in rage from many protesters. The girl then exited silently through the crowd while protesters screamed at her, calling her a white bitch. At one point, the protesters crowded around a guy sitting on his laptop and stared at him, screaming at him, 'If we can't study, you can't study,' clearly failing to realize that the only reason that they weren't able to study is because they were too busy shouting at white people. Well, surely it couldn't have been that bad, right?
Black Lives Matter! Hey. Black Lives Matter! Hey. Black Lives Matter!
Oh. Well, sure, they're being really vocal, but it's not like they're getting all up in people's personal spaces and harassing them, right?
Black Lives Matter!
Do you think Black Lives Matter?
Oh. You see, Black Lives Matter, people, this is why people have a really hard time viewing your movement sympathetically. It's because you look like a bunch of raving racial supremacists. Because every time anyone sees your movement on film, it looks like this.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom!
It is our duty to fight for our freedom!
It is our duty to win!
It is our duty to win! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Power! 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 Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
Because whenever someone shows up with a megaphone and a chanting mob, that's when you know they are ready to have a civilized conversation using empirical evidence, objective data, and some logical reasoning skills. I mean, it's not like we're seeing shit like this anywhere else. In, say, Minnesota?
Kill all these fucking cops! Kill their kids too! Fucking police! And they kill all of them!
Yes, that is a protest that's been running for about 6 days now. A man beating his wife, assaulting an emergency medical technician and a police officer gets shot by a police officer, and this is the appropriate response. Block the street outside for several days at a time, be loud, obnoxious, start throwing bricks and shit all over the fences of the compound, injuring police officers and damaging cars, and start threatening people and twerking in the middle of the fucking street. All things that have been repeatedly and historically proven to start calm, open dialogue. Now, in some instances, there may be a legitimate reason to seek deeper inquiry into a certain issue. But so many times when we see these Black Lives Matter people coming out of the woodwork, they are just getting offended over nothing, even an imagined slight. Which leads us nicely to the curious case of Vanderbilt, with one of the student organizations holding an anti-racist protest on their university campus, the very next day being the victim of, well, I'll let them explain. The Hidden Doors team is appalled to announce that our demonstration yesterday was met this morning with a vile act. This morning, someone left a bag of feces on the porch of Vanderbilt University's Black Cultural Center. The center has served as the nexus of many aspects of black life on Vanderbilt's campus since its inception 31 years ago. The violation of a place that in many ways is the sole home for black students is deplorable. As many of us sit in grief, recognize that these types of actions are what we speak of when we note the reality of exclusion and isolation of students of color, and specifically black students on our campus. This act has hurt many and will not be received lightly. We will not allow for the desecration of the place we call home. As we announced yesterday and reaffirmed today, we will not be silent. So there we have the Black Student Union announcing that they will take righteous vengeance upon the no doubt racist straight white male who would dare to desecrate their holy ground. And they shall never be silenced until the offender is caught and brought to justice. Except the very next day, they deleted that post from their Facebook and have never mentioned it ever again since. Because it turns out the turd in a bag belonged to the seeing eye dog of one of the blind students on campus, who was simply unable to find a bin to put it in because they weren't familiar with that part of the grounds. And unsurprisingly, after this, she issued a statement of her own. I would like to inform everyone on this campus that no racial threat occurred. I am a blind student on this campus with a guide dog. I was meeting with a group last night to go over our debate for one of my sociology classes. My dog did her business outside on the grass, and I picked it up and put it in a bag, like always. I did not want to bring the feces inside and make the building smell, so I left it outside by the door. Everyone is going to point me out now as the blind girl who left her dog feces by the Black Cultural Center. I am sorry that I do not know where all the trash cans are on main campus. The Vanderbilt police were obviously able to look at cameras and figure out that it was Marley and I, because I got a call asking if I left her feces outside of the door. I guess there's only one thing to say here to these black students who were so eager to cry "Das racist" at the first sign of anything happening, and that is to check your fucking privilege. 'Cause you just got wrecked with a capital hashtag by a blind girl and her dog. They did at least post an apology, which if you want to read the entire thing, then feel free to pause the screen. But I just want to point and laugh at the stupidity of the first sentence. It has recently come to our attention that we were absolutely misinformed about a situation that happened this morning at Vanderbilt's Black Cultural Center. No, fuck you. You were not misinformed. You came to the wrong fucking conclusion. You saw something, you took it as a personal fucking slight against you, and you started shouting racist at every person that walked past. Don't try and shift the blame onto some mysterious, non-existent other person who misinformed you about the bag of shit. No, the bag of shit was absolutely there. You were the one who jumped to the wrong conclusion. Take some fucking responsibility for your own prejudice, and maybe work on that victim complex that you've got. Speaking of victim complexes, how much do you think this person has? Columbia student claims to be traumatized by reading about white people. A student at Columbia University is urging the school to inject more diversity into its required courses, claiming she suffered severe emotional trauma from reading too many books by and about white people. One of the students speaking about this attributed her academic troubles to the trauma of having to take Columbia's current core curriculum, which requires students to take a series of 6 classes with a focus on the culture and history of Western European civilization. And Aya said this focus on the West was highly mentally stressful for her. Oh, poor baby, 6 whole classes. That's like 6 to 12 hours of study on Western civilization and Western culture. Oh my god, so fucking triggering. But I can't help but think that this is just an excuse, because earlier she was pointing out that she was supposed to be graduating in 2014, but instead is only on track to receive her degree in 2016. This, according to her, demonstrates how hard it has been for me to get through this institution. Yes, because reading about white people has been so traumatic for you that it means you're going to be graduating 2 whole years later than you should be. Here's an idea for you. Maybe you're just shit. Maybe you just can't hack it in the thing that you are studying. So what are you going to do? Oh, I'm reading books written by white people about white people. That's racist, and it's making me fail. No, fuck you. You are just bad. It's 6 classes. Get your head down, read it, learn it, graduate. Easy. The reason that I really hate this article, it just infuriates me. Because later on we have some moron who will say, you cannot grow up in a society without assimilating racist views. Part of what is exciting about this conversation is that it's issuing accountability for us to look within ourselves and try to understand the ways that racism shapes how we see the world and our institutions. Everyone is racist! Or, now hear me out here, maybe the problem is you. Maybe you are just bad, because the common denominator in all of these circumstances is you. And this is the sort of person who I think typifies this modern Black Lives Matter and all of these modern racist arguments. They so desperately wish that racism existed. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't racist individuals in society, there certainly are. But they are so few. The kinds of racism that these people wish for, they pray for, is the kind of racism that existed 100 years ago. They genuinely wish that in society today we had white men who would just walk around calling all black men boy and bitch slapping them if the black guy doesn't end every sentence with the phrase yes sir or yes massa. They fucking wish that that still existed because it would legitimize their position. Instead, what they do is they pick anything, absolutely anything, and as we've seen throughout this video, they will jump on the tiniest thing, even the slightest perception that someone is doing something to them because of the color of their skin, and they will quite happily say, everyone is racist, because they want white people to hate black people. And they are going to make it happen. And they're going to make it happen by acting like the most obnoxious, spoiled, entitled children that they can. And they're going to do it long enough and hard enough and in big enough numbers that eventually white people, or just non-black people, are eventually going to start tarring all blacks with the same brush. Due to constant media coverage of this sort of shit. But hey, at least there are black people out there who see through this as the sort of bullshit that it is, who realize that these morons are just a vocal minority and in no way reflective of them as individuals. And on that note, I'm going to leave you with a short clip from a video by Michael Whaley to just remind you that not everyone is totally fucking insane.
I'm promoting this All Lives Matter movement. I'm gonna tell you why. Because it's all this Black Lives Matter movement only promotes racism, and now they encouraging black people to go kill white people because they want white people to feel what we felt 400 years ago. Newsflash, was you living 400 years ago? No. Was those, you know what I'm saying? Was you born 400 years ago? No. So how you gonna let something in the past that you never existed, that you was never born in, affect how you live your life today, having that much influence over you today? All lives matter. That police officer that got killed by that black man because that black man listened to what y'all was saying by going out and killing white people. That police officer's life mattered. That 9-year-old girl in Ferguson, Missouri that got shot in the head while she was doing her homework in a drive-by shooting that none of y'all protested, her life mattered. And y'all get mad, and then y'all slander me, y'all call me Uncle Tom and all that type of stuff, house nigga, whatever. Man, check this out. I had drill instructors in boot camp that had better insults than y'all. So, but when come up with some better insults and then get back at me. And I'm telling you the reason why I don't have a lot of black supporters. The reason why I don't have a lot of black supporters, I'm telling you the God honest truth. The reason why I don't have a lot of black supporters is because black people can't accept the truth about themselves. Black people admitting to the truth is like them snitching on themselves. And black people have this no snitching rule. So I'm not going to have them in black supporters because they can't openly admit the truth. They're going to deny till they die. But they're going to use something that happened 400 years ago against white people. They're going to hold it against them. Those white people that's living today in this day and age, this generation, they didn't live 400 years ago. They wasn't born 400 years ago. So how you going to blame them for some stuff that happened 400 years ago that they was never born, that never existed on this planet? How? That is so crazy. All lives matter. Okay, check this out. I'm gonna tell you something. Y'all talk about black people been fighting for our civil rights and stuff like that. White people fought for our civil rights also. But you know what I'm saying? Before y'all start throwing stuff out, do research. Okay, let's talk about. Do you know about the three civil rights activists that got killed in Mississippi? It was 2 white guys and a black guy. They got killed. That black guy life mattered. Those 2 white guys, their life mattered. They supported Martin Luther King and everything. You know why they supported Martin Luther King? Because they see the same thing that Martin Luther King see. They only see human beings. They cared. They wanted to make a change, and they died. And there's other white people that died for our rights too. So don't say right there and say there's black people that died for our rights. There was white people that died for our rights too, because there was white people that supported Martin Luther King. There was white people that supported Malcolm X. There was white people that actually cared. This racism has to stop. And y'all want to blame white people for the stuff that's going on today? No. The reason why a lot of black people is locked up because black people do dumb crimes. When you go kill somebody over a pair of shoes, that's a dumb crime. You made that mistake. You are responsible for the decisions that you make in your life. You can't blame nobody else how you was raised. Racism is, you can't be born racist. You was taught to be racist.